Good morning. Well, it's morning for me. It might be 2 a.m. when you're watching this. And if it is, you need to go to bed, turn off the light, head on the pillow, and there we go. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do today. I'm going to set my timer here for 20 minutes. And we're going to go about that long and then kind of call it a day. This will be my first use of this this software, my first use of this presentation, and my first video. So it's your first time and mine too. So here we go. What we're going to be doing today is briefly we're going to be discussing the introductory material for the history and appreciation of the visual and performing arts. Now, I will call it humanities probably most of the time. And I'll occasionally call it HAVPA, which is the acronym, History and Appreciation of the Visual and Performing Arts. And then occasionally I'll try to spit out that whole big sentence. But really what we're doing today is we're not going to get into the art and the music. And we're just going to sort of talk about the introduction stuff. Primarily today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about taking notes. And you're probably at this point saying, well, what do you mean taking notes? This is a computer machine. That is true. But it is important to me to teach you to take good notes. So as we go through this class and this section all the way through Christmas, I kind of have 3 goals for you. Goal number 1 is I want you to have an understanding and appreciation for music and dance and art and sculpture and architecture. And, I want you to appreciate that stuff. That's what the title of the class is. Number 2, I want you to be a good writer, to be able to express your thoughts about what you see and experience. So that'll apply to this class, but it'll also apply to anything in your life, any endeavor. So writing, we'll do a bit of that. And finally, the last thing is I'm going to teach you how to take good notes. So most of the time, students have not been taught how to take good notes. Now, I think that there's a couple of teachers in the district at the middle school level and at the high school level that also teach the same type of notes that I do. It's called Cornell notes. I teach it the best. So maybe you've heard of this before, maybe you've used this before, but perhaps I'll tweak it a little bit and it'll be a little bit different from me. So I wish that I knew about this when I was a student. I found out about it late in life, and that's the way it goes. So just a little tidbit, when I went to, high school, of course, and college as well, I was PO. So if you're PO, you don't have any money to buy books. So I didn't buy books for my classes unless I absolutely had to, because art materials are way expensive. Paint, brushes, clay, lab fees, all of that stuff for art is very expensive. So that's where my money went. So as far as textbooks went, I didn't purchase them unless I absolutely had to. I would go to the library and get the books there. So I had to take good notes. So I learned to take good notes, but not the same kind of notes that I'm going to ask you to take in this class. So it's important to me to teach you and expect you to take good notes. So as you start with this class virtually and then later on in person, I'm going to ask you to have a quality notebook. So if you don't have a notebook with you, go ahead, pause this, go get you one, and come back and join us. I'll wait. Get your notebook out. So let me advance this. So the way that I'm going to be asking you to take notes is called the Cornell notes system. So the Cornell notes system is again, one of the most effective note-taking methods that I've ever found, invented by a guy named Walter Pauk from Cornell University. Somewhere in this house, I've got a letter from Walter Pauk that he wrote me, and he was at the time 90 something years old. My guess is that he's probably currently deceased. I don't know. But he sent me a letter because I was asking him all about his fantastic note system. I cannot find that letter. Dang. So if you look at the slide, you'll see that the page is divided up into sections. So on your left side of the page, there is a small section, about 2.5 inches, about the length of your little finger. Don't use that little, if you're using a notebook paper, it has that little pink margin line. Don't use that. That's too small. A little bit more, about 2.5 inches. And you're going to take a line and write down the side of the page and create that column over there on the left side of the page. That's called the Q column. Go ahead and do that. I'll wait. The Q column is probably the key feature of the Cornell note system. So I'm going to get back to that here in just a second. If you look over the other side of your page, that larger section, 6 inches wide, something like that on the right side, what you're going to do in that section of the notebook is you're going to write down your notes. You're going to write down all the stuff that I say. You're going to write down information from slides. You're going to write down information from video, any information. If we were in person and I wrote on the board, you would write down anything that I wrote on the board. So all information that I give you, so my information to you, goes on the right side of your notebook, the note-taking area. So anything that I give you. So I'll kind of explain that here in just a little bit more. Down there at the bottom, you're going to slide off a little section, about 2 inches, and that's going to be for the end of the day. So if you take multiple pages of notes during the day, which you might, you wouldn't need to put that summary at the bottom of every page. You just need to put that at the end of the day. So down there at the bottom of your page, you would put your summary. Today, we had a little introduction. We talked about Mr. Lanham's Poe, and we talked about Cornell note system. Summary. So let's talk a little bit more about that Q column over there. And this is the part of the notebook that is what makes this so important. In the Cornell note system, it requires you to internalize and think about the information that you've been given. It requires you to internalize and think about the information that you've been given. So I'm giving you information. The information that I'm giving you goes over on the right side of your page. In fact, why don't you do that? On the right side of your page, why don't you write over there, information from class, comma, Mr. Lanham, comma, the board, comma, the slides. Anything that I give you goes on the right side. Go ahead and write that down. I'll wait. Over on the left side, that's where you think about the information that I have given you. So right now, take a moment and think about all the stuff that we've said about Cornell notes. He has a letter from Walter Pauk somewhere in his house. When he was in college, he didn't buy books. This side over here is for me to think. All of those thoughts that are going through your head, they just sort of spin through. If you don't keep your thoughts, if you don't record your thoughts, they are forever gone. So imagine this, you wake up in the morning, and you think, man, that was a weird dream. I was in school and I didn't have all my supplies and my shoes were on backwards and whatever dream that you had last night. Now, if you just wait like a minute and try to think about what your dream was last night, it was something about my shoes. It's just gone. All of that stuff that you were like, whoa, that's crazy, it's gone. And that's the same way with your ideas and your thoughts. Unless you record those ideas and thoughts, they are forever gone. Your ideas and thoughts have value. You need to write them down. You need to write them down not just for this class, but for your whole life. You need to write things down. You need to make lists. You need to keep notes. You need to write down questions. Everything that you do, you need to write down. You should have a notebook with you all the time throughout your whole life. Ordinarily, if we were in class, this is when I do lots of props and show you notebooks and, etc. We're not. So trust me, I have lots of props and stories about notebooks. But what I want you to do is I want you to get in the habit of writing information down, because if you don't write it down, it never happened. It doesn't exist, because your brain will discard that information eventually because you're getting new information. Your brain can't handle it all. So old information is replaced by new information. You need to write down information, and you need to record your thoughts about that information. So go ahead over there on the left side, the Q column, think a little bit about what we've been talking about. We've talked about your dreams. We've talked about taking a notebook with you wherever you go. What do you think? What do you think about that? Write that down. Write down your thoughts. If you have any questions that come to you, what do you mean? Should we take a notebook? What do you mean everywhere? You mean like carry it with us everywhere? If you have a question, write it down. As I give you information, you will think about that information. Your thoughts go on the left side, the Q column. So the notebook, the key feature of the Cornell note system is that you are having a relationship with the information that you're getting. I'll just use computers and cell phones and TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff as an example. As you scroll through a TikTok or an Instagram, you are just receiving information, pictures, images, music. It's all just comes. And as soon as you scroll up, it's gone. And then, more information, it just overloads you. And eventually you just become desensitized to it and numb to information. So you need to slow down. You need to write it down. You need to think. You need to interact and develop a relationship with the information that you receive. So, am I saying that you should have your notebook with you while you're watching TikTok and Instagram? Sure. Yeah. Because if you see something interesting on TikTok, which, by the way, I've discovered there is interesting things on TikTok. Who knew? I started following the TikToks, and so now I follow people who give tips for woodworking and people who have tips for a computer program that I use quite a bit, Procreate. There's lots of good, useful information on TikTok, believe it or not. So yeah, if I'm just scrolling and just seeing, oh, interesting. Oh yeah, that's cool. But if I watch the TikToks with a notebook, I'm going to record and interact with all that information. So yeah, Cornell Notes is by far the best learning tool that I can think of. So at the end of this class, I want you to have an appreciation for the visual arts. I want you to have an appreciation for, writing and how to express your thoughts and how to communicate your ideas. And I want you to be able to take good notes. So you are going to be taking notes in this class, whether it's virtual or whether it is in person. So I will be grading this notebook. In fact, this notebook will be worth more than any other artifact you have from this class. It'll be worth more than any other test. it'll be worth more than any other project or handout or thing that you do. So not taking notes for this class would be the equivalent of you just taking one of your tests and saying, I'm not going to take it. I'll take the 0. Let's see what that does to my grade. So you need to take notes. You need to take quality notes. You need to take good notes, and you need to take the notes in this fashion, the Cornell notes. Up there at the top, you're just going to write down heading information. You're going to write down your name, the name of the class, the date, the topic, just basic introduction stuff that will go up there at the top of your notebook. I'll show you some examples here in a second. Just things to help you organize what it is that you're doing for the day. So let's see if this comes up correctly. I'm going to try to do this. All right. Looks like it did. So here are some examples of Cornell notes. Now, these are pre-printed ones. You can go online and you can download pre-printed Cornell notes pages. It's very popular. I didn't just invent it. Cornell notes is very famous and well known. So you can see this one. It has, your objectives and the class date and, all that stuff that's up there at the top. The essential question, if I were to have an I can statement for you, that's where that would go. Your I can would be there. Over there on the left side, you got your questions and thoughts. And then over on the right side, that's your notes, the things that I give you in class. Here's another example. This is sort of a handwritten notebooky one. Again, you can see that this person is taking notes over on the right side. They got their questions and things over on there on the left side. A few more here. The thing that I'm going to ask you to do that is different than any other teacher that you've probably ever had that used Cornell notes is I prefer pictures. So obviously on the left side in the Q column, you can write down your thoughts. You can use words to write that down, and that's fine. Writing is good. But because of who I am and what I do and where you are, I prefer pictures for Cornell notes. So on the left side of the page, what I would prefer you to do is to draw an image, a picture, a cartoon, a graph, a chart. I want you to draw that stuff over there on the left side. So drawings for me are important. They activate different parts of your brain. You have to internalize information and you have to synthesize it before you can express it as a visual. So words are good. We like words, but I also prefer that you write over on the left side or draw on the left side images, anything that will represent an idea. So do that now. Think about some little picture that would represent the information that we've been given, that I've given you. How could you express the idea of thoughts and memory and note-taking and how can you express those ideas in a little picture, cartoon, graph, chart, icon? Put that over there. So today what we did is we talked about Cornell notes. We talked a little bit about the expectations of the class. Of course, I'm not done. We'll go over this information in more detail. Tomorrow I'll talk to you a little bit more about how things are going to be graded and, your notebook. There you have it. But whenever you click on one of these videos, and truly my suggestion is anytime you take any class and just every day in your life, you need to have a notebook with you so you can write down these ideas. So next time I make a video, I'll have a couple of my notebooks that I've got sitting around in various locations. Like, over here in this chair where I read most of the time, I have a notebook over there. That's where I don't have one over here. Back there in the kitchen where I watch the YouTubes, I have little notes over there. So anyway, I'll add those pictures for you tomorrow so you can see kind of what I'm talking about. Hey, stay safe out there. Wear a mask. Protect your elderly family members. And yeah, we'll see you next time. And I'm trying to stop the recording.